Plastic can take up to 1,000 years to decompose in a landfill. So why do we keep using it if it is so toxic to the environment? Plastics are reusable. They're made from synthetic human-made materials, or polymers, which are long molecules built around chains of carbon and hydrogen atoms obtained from crude oil. That bond is very hard to break, which is what makes plastic so durable. But it also doesn't allow plastic to decompose like other materials.
So the problem is not that plastic is toxic or that plastic is pollutant. The problem is that plastic doesn't degrade because we did something that nature isn't able to interact with. The molecules are too big to be kind of eaten by microbes.
So what's the alternative? One answer is to create plastic that is made out of biodegradable ingredients. That material already exists. It's called polylactic acid, or PLA for short. PLA is made out of renewable resources such as corn, sugarcane, or sugar beet pulp. What makes it different is that bacteria can digest the ingredients in the polymer and allow it to decompose. That comes in handy in places like sports stadiums where you have thousands of single-use items like cups, plates, and cutlery discarded every day combined with food.
So the advantage of PLA is that you can, in fact, take both the food and the packaging and throw it away and deliver it to a composting facility so that they can start the composting process. So you don't have to separate them.
But don't think PLA is a be-all, end-all solution.
For instance, for soft drinks, it would be very hard to start using PLA. So other plastics are much more appropriate. And secondly, it's more expensive than fossil-based plastic. Crude oil is quite cheap. And secondly, there's this huge advantage of scale, because we've been converting oil into PP and PE for many years. So the production capacity to convert oil into fossil-based plastic is much bigger.
However, money talks, and there's big business in plastics.
So there are subsidies on one end, and there are impacts to the environment that create costs elsewhere that are not being paid for by the companies that are producing the problem.
We need laws that will, drive the use of bioplastic. For instance, shopping bags. So we know that many people throw away their shopping bag, after doing their shopping. So it would be a wise thing to have some kind of legislation that forces all the shopping bag to have to be compostable.
Many places in Europe have already adopted PLA and have taken steps to encourage bag reuse.
So in France and in Italy, they have banned shopping bags. The only bags you can buy are biodegradable bags, and those biodegradable bags are based on PLA and other biodegradable polyesters.
Why hasn't the US adopted this practice? Like a relationship status on Facebook? It's complicated.
Given the current political situation, it is very difficult to get federal dictates or legislation in place to make that occur. So I think in the US, it's a much more successful scenario is to do it on a by state basis or by city basis.
In 2014, California became the first state to ban plastics and charge for paper bags. But there's also the issue of recycling. It can be confusing. The plastics industry has a numbering system to label different types of plastics. PLA falls under number 7, along with other plastics like acrylics and fiberglass.
The problem is that while these materials are already sometimes on the market, they are not labeled clearly. So people, even if they do use them, they are not aware of using them, and they often discard them in the common plastic bin. We need something that breaks down, because we cannot keep going on accumulating plastic, and we cannot even think to produce the same amount of material in the incoming 100 years, because we will be sinking in plastic actually.
A way to nudge corporations toward more biodegradable products may be as simple as sending a friendly email saying you would rather support a company that wants to invest in the health of the planet.